Nittany Lion Roar with Extreme Panda here, and I have an update to my Nerf Watchlist 2020 video that I just put out not long ago. So in the comments of that video, which you can go back and watch, and I'll link in this video, a lot of people were mentioning that I should have put Finlay on the list. That kind of surprised me. In fact, a number of people were saying he should be the #1 hero on the list. And I hadn't been having much of a problem with him, so I was curious about that, and I listened to a lot of different opinions. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at Finlay and decide if he should be on the Nerf watch list or not. Now remember, when you watch this video, this is not a list of who I'm recommending in particular. It's a list of who I think Small Giant Games is realistically looking at for a Nerf. So let's start out by looking at Finlay's card, and then we'll talk about the pros and cons for a Nerf. Okay, first let's take a look at Finlay's card. Now please recognize this Finlay has emblems, so these are not Finlay's base stats. His stats here are a little bit improved because of the emblems, but I wanted to be able to scroll and show you the special here. Finlay's base stats are 753 attack, 745 defense, and 1,314 health. Finlay is a ranger, which is a class that's quite crowded actually, so if you're going to put emblems on Finlay, you have some hard decisions to make to do that, although Finlay is probably the best ranger currently, so it's not really that difficult of a decision. He is in the Pirates family, and I think Finlay brings some oomph to the Pirate event, which was really lacking a solid hero, so he's a great hero. In fact, I like the art, I like the flavor, I like what he does in general. In theory, the special is really cool, and there's not a lot of other effects that act like his. Also, Finlay is fast. He deals 385% damage to the target. If the target has buffs, he targets another enemy with buffs. If none of the other enemies have buffs, he targets a random enemy. The damage is reduced on each consecutive hit. Each enemy can only be hit once. And then lastly, everybody that Finlay has hit gets negative 34% defense for 3 turns. So first, let's examine the argument against nerfing Finlay. First of all, a lot of this has to do with strategy, and probably why I was surprised that a lot of people were calling for a nerf for him, because I think it may just have to do with my playstyle. My playstyle is to bring heroes that give the opponent status ailments rather than buffing my own team. And also, I like to bring fast heroes, so I feel like I tend to come in, have fast heroes, really reduce the health of the opposing team quite quickly, maybe even kill Finlay before he goes off, or even if Finlay does go off, often I'm focusing on, defense down effects, or like Gravemaker's burn effect or something like that, which is more important to me than buffs. So I think simply to play around him, don't bring heroes that have buffs, bring heroes that give status ailments. However, one of the problems with this is that some of these heroes that I've mentioned, like Gravemaker, a lot of the elemental defense down, like Evelyn or Drake, who blinds the opponent, they have elemental link because they're heroes of the month. And so that means if you're stacking heroes, like if I bring Drake and several other yellows, then they all get a buff and Finlay's going to hit all of them. So it is difficult to build a team that's not going to have buffs, although if you are wise, you'll look at building a team that's not going to get wrecked by Finlay. For example, if you have elemental link, don't bring a mono team. If you use a hero that gives the whole team that elemental link, then of course Finlay's going to hit everybody. Or if you go 4-1, same kind of thing. So instead of going mono or 4-1 against a team that has Finlay, go 3-2 or 3-1-1. That way if Finlay does go off, he's not wrecking the whole team, he's just hitting a couple of heroes. Also, if you see that Finlay's about to go off, then don't fire a hero that's going to give a buff. Like, if I have a hero charged up that's going to give a buff, but that I see Finlay's about to go off, maybe I'll just wait a turn or two and ghost. I know that's not always possible. Sometimes time is of the essence. You just got to, you're in a worse position. You've just got to try and win right then and there. But if you can play around it, do. And lastly, unlike Ursena, who oftentimes is being placed at tank or at flank, so she goes off quite early in the match, most players are putting Finlay in the corner, so you have time to kill him before he goes off. You have time to play around him. It's a little bit easier to do that than against Ursena, for example. However, I think that Finlay is probably best at the left flank. You typically want that defense down effect to go off pretty early and on the left side, so that if other heroes on the defense go off, they're going to take advantage of that defense down effect that he has. So even though he fits best in that left flank, just the way that Small Giant Games has created a lot of heroes like Guinevere and Ursena and Gravemaker and other many other heroes, Drake, they all fit really well at tank and flank, so Finlay often gets bumped to the wing. Alright, now let's examine the arguments for nerfing Finlay. So I think the simple matter of the fact is that Small Giant Games has created so many buffs in Empires and Puzzles that he almost always hits everyone, or multiples. Just because, like, there's so many buffs, they often end up stacking, and even if you've tried to limit how many you have, you almost always have like an elemental link present or something like that that's going to cause Finlay to hit multiples. Also, his attack stat in combination with the percentage of damage he does is a problem. His attack stat starts out really high. It's 753, and it only gets higher with emblems. And dealing 385% damage in combination with that high attack stat is pretty much the same amount of damage as any other sniper in the game, like Alacy or Alice or Kingston or anything like that. Although the percent damage is a little bit lower. He's basically doing the same kind of damage that those other snipers do, except that he doesn't just hit one, he hits multiples, and oftentimes is hitting everybody. Of course, each attack after the initial one is reduced a little bit, but it doesn't say by how much, so I'm not even sure what that is. So that's just a really powerful effect all on its own, but then he gives defense down, which is already, in my opinion, the most powerful effect in the game, because it's really this defense stat that keeps your heroes alive. And whenever Finlay goes and reduces that defense stat on everybody, the game's going to be over pretty quickly, or on multiple heroes. You're going to see that just really end a match pretty quickly. So this effect is incredibly powerful for a fast hero. Think about this. Think about most of the average and slow heroes out there. They don't have a special this powerful. In fact, that's just been kind of a general issue with Empires and Puzzles overall, is that they seem to have put the best specials on the fast heroes. There are so many slow heroes out there with a much worse special than this. So the speed is a real problem. Finlay really probably should not be fast. You know, average would make sense, and he probably would still be a good hero at slow. I mean, put this special next to Ursena. Like, they're actually pretty similar specials, and Ursena is slow. So fast is just too fast. All right, so how do I recommend they fix Finlay if they are going to do a nerf? First of all, I think that they need to reduce the attack stat a little bit. It's just too high and does too much damage, in combination with the percentage of damage he deals. So they could reduce the attack a little bit, and they could reduce that 385% damage a little bit. But most importantly, even if they don't touch those stats, they need to add a percentage chance he'll hit another hero that has a buff. Similar to how Missandra has a percentage chance she might hit another hero. So she can hit up to like 4 heroes. I think it's fine to have a percentage chance to hit all 5 heroes, but I think, you know, after the first hit, there should be a percentage chance to hit another enemy with a buff. And then after that hit, there should be a percentage chance to hit another enemy with a buff. That way, if everybody has a buff, it's not guaranteed that Finlay's going to go hit everybody. I think that would probably be the best thing they could do to make Finlay a great but not overpowered hero. Okay, so here's my final verdict. Should I add Finlay to the Nerf watch list for 2020. Again, not my opinion, but just do I think Small Giant Games is realistically going to nerf Finlay? Well, after listening to comments from the community and examining the arguments for and against, I do think that there are more and better arguments for nerfing Finlay than against. So I would add Finlay to the Nerf watch list. Just keep an eye on that. If anything, I think what Small Giant Games may do is add that percentage chance that Finlay will hit another hero with a buff. That's probably the best way to do that without really making the nerf feel bad, and also keeping Finlay a powerful but not overpowered hero. All right, so that's it. If you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe and like.